Recording in progress.
Anything? Okay, thank you. Okay, we want to welcome everyone to our West Haven City Council meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 15th, 2023, and it's at 6:02. My name's Rob Vanderwood, and we'll call this meeting to order today. I'm the mayor of West Haven. Today we'll get started with our, first off with our opening ceremonies. We'll get started with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Saunders, and a prayer and or a moment of silence with Councilmember Morse.
I'd like to invite the audience to arise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this day. We're grateful that we could come together as a council and make decisions on behalf of the residents of this city. Father, we ask that you help guide us in making those decisions, and that we are able to come together and make the right decisions on behalf of our residents. Father, we're grateful for all of the police, fire, emergency personnel, and the men and women who sacrificed their lives to protect our great nation. We ask that you watch over them and help each one of those individuals go home safely at the end of their shifts and deployments. We say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Saunders and Councilmember Morse. Again, we want to thank everyone for being here and being involved with our council meeting, both online and here present today. Right now, we'll move to our item number 3, our public presentation. Residents attending this meeting will be allotted 2 minutes to express a concern or ask a question about any issue that is not on the agenda. No action can or will be taken on any issues that are presented. If you'd like to come up forward, you're welcome to do so now. Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward with item 4, our upcoming events. Our first upcoming event is our senior lunch bunch. We'll have on November 29th at 11:30 a.m. We're looking forward to that. It should be fun. We've also got our Heart of the Holidays, our Christmas lighting ceremony that we have with Santa and everybody else. All the kids will be coming over. Some of the schools will be singing. It'll be a fun event. That's November 27th. At 6 o'clock, starts at 6 o'clock and goes till about 8. I think also just want to remind everybody that the mail-in ballots are out, so make sure you vote and get your information that you need to into the county so we can get that taken care of as soon as possible. And any other upcoming events from the council members?
I just wanted to mention that in December for the youth council meeting, we will be having a mock city council. That's always a good time for our youth to sit up here and make budget decisions. So that will be at our next meeting in December.
What's the date, Kim?
The second Thursday, which I'm sorry, I don't remember what that date is.
And what time?
That will be at 5:30.
5:30, okay. Thank you. Anything else from any other council members on upcoming events? Okay. We'll also move to item 5 on council updates. Is there any updates from the council members on anything you're assigned over?
I'll just make a quick announcement for those that might be joining us. The Beautification Committee, in September, we gave out an award for Yard of the Month, and there was some gift certificates over to Country Gardens and Dallas Greens. We're going to be doing the same thing kind of around the holidays for like decorations for Christmas and that sort of thing. So just if someone's interested, you can nominate your yard or your neighbor's yard to receive a prize for that. So encourage people to participate in that.
Okay, thank you. Any other updates from any other council members? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, action on our consent agenda. We just have one item. Item A is our city council minutes meeting that was held November 1st of 2023. Is there any changes or concerns with the minutes? I think I just had one, Emily, on there just for the upcoming events. It still had November 22nd on it. We can just put the 29th on there. I think that's all I had. Anything else? And then, one other thing too is, if we have a council member that's absent, does it come across as recused on here?
No, it doesn't. It shouldn't show up in the voting box, but I am going to start adding, I've asked them to do like an excused and a present portion so you can see that at the beginning of the minutes.
Okay, perfect. That'll be good. We have that on there, so it doesn't look like they denied voting. They just weren't here, right? So that'll work out great. Is there any other comments on this? If not, I'm ready for a motion for our consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda item A, city council meetings
Second.
minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? We'll do a roll call on this. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
and Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Motion carries, so thank you for that. We'll move on to item 7, our presentation on our pumpkin walk report from our West Haven City Youth Council mayor. Mayor, you want to come up and give a report?
I'm Kenny Olson from 3537 South, 2700 West. I'm the mayor of U City Council, and we wanted to update you on the pumpkin walk that we held on October 26, 2023. In our last U City Council meeting, we talked about the pumpkin walk. In our discussion about the pumpkin walk, we talked about a couple things. We talked about what went well and what could be improved, and the ideas to make those improvements happen. One thing that worked well was the later time. It showed the lights better, and just more people were there in general. It showed the lights, brought more of a Halloween spirit, we felt. Another thing that went well with that is well attended. We didn't count exactly how many people, but there were 600 donuts and they were all gone by 8 p.m. And then
Good way to count.
finally, our local 6th graders did an excellent job. They made enough pumpkins to go along the park. And were very creative with it, made great pumpkins. So yeah, and then we also wanted to thank a couple groups. One was the West Haven City staff. They picked up the pumpkins for us to the school and the park, and then helped us with the activities during the night, such as refilling the candy. We would have struggled without them, so we were grateful for their help. Sojourn Church also held a good booth at the end. That was really great. Their decorations were above and beyond, so we were thankful for them. And there was also an Eagle Scout, a scout trying to earn her Eagle badge, and she did a good job with games and prizes at the start. Some suggestions we had for improvement were we wanted to move the time just a little bit from 7 to 8:30 to 6:30 to 8. It would allow the painted and decorated pumpkins to be seen better in the light, and those were the times that most people were there as it got colder as it went on. We also wanted to improve or add signage, as there were people going both ways. It was really confusing and messed up the flow of people to an extent. So that for the sense of efficiency and a better night, we would like to add signs and directions next time. Lastly, we want more booths like the Sojourns instead of just bins. It would be a cool improvement over just the bins of candies and bring more of a sense of community, and it would be more of a sense of community, especially if we ask school groups and clubs to help us with that. We will need to identify them by the end of September or the 1st of October. We will also continue to provide the candy for the stations. Also, we had a budget report. The final cost for the pumpkins was $1,100. And finally, overall, the pumpkin walk went very well. I've been on the council for 3 years now and a citizen of West Haven for 12 years. Almost every year of those 12, I have attended the pumpkin walk either as a volunteer or a kid for candy. This was by far the most well-attended I have been to and one of the most memorable. There was plenty of candy and the good kind too. The pavilion and Sojourn station were really well run and a fundamental section of the walk. The decorations and pumpkins were great as well, and probably the best yet. I'm grateful I was a part of it, and it was overall mine and my family's favorite pumpkin walk yet.
Nice.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you
Mayor.
very
Great
much.
job.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And
It
tell
was
your
a-
council thank you as well.
It was a great event, and I think a lot of fun. Actually, it was cold, but it was a lot of fun. And so you can't always determine the weather, but it was really fun to go to that event. Any other comments from the council? Thank you again for presenting that. That helps a lot. Okay, we'll move on to our next item on here. Item 8 is discussion possible action on grants for West Haven City.
So we discussed what you wanted for Sherry to apply for grants. Just needed to know if we need to have any other discussion, want any other, maybe we just make sure and clarify on the record as to what ones she's going to be going for. Sherry, do you want to come up this way?
Give us a quick recap.
Yeah, maybe you read off what you have, so we just double check.
Yes, thank you. So from the discussion, what we've had for the major grant, we will work on phase 1 or phase A, whatever we decide to call it, with Windsor Park. For the arts grants, we will do the art festival, the rodeo for West Haven Days, and a new announcer stand at Country Park at the Rodeo Arena. And then for the Parks and Recs will be a large pavilion for Priverdale Park, and we will work on restrooms and playground at the Windsor Park.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, does the council have any other questions for the application for our grants moving forward?
No, but thank you, Sherry, for walking us through this long and arduous process.
No, that's all
Hopefully,
right.
next year we will be a little quicker.
That's okay. We'll start in February.
That might work.
We need to do a vote or approve these.
Yeah, why don't you do a vote, just because then if there's any question later, we can go back and check, just to.
Okay. All right.
It actually helps us.
I'm fine with that. Let's go ahead and I'm ready for a motion for this.
I move that we apply for the possible grants that we have discussed in the meeting as stated by Sherry Bingham.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? Okay, we'll do a vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you again, Sherry, for that. We'll get started on those and hopefully get them all done and ready to go. That helps our city out a lot without having, these are basically ramp grants that come from the county, and that's monies available for cities to utilize, and so we try and take advantage of that as much as possible. So thank you. We'll move on to item number 9, which is our action on Planning Commission meeting recommendations. And item A for that is our final subdivision approval for commercial subdivision, approximately 1900 west and 2100 south for Industrial Properties LLC. Do we have a representative for that? Yeah, come on up. Please just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Morris. I'm president of Prism Realty Corporation, who's the owner of the property and applicant. And appreciate your consideration of the parcel map tonight. When we bought the property, it had 9 spread out parcels like dominoes on a table, and you guys have approved our site plan going forward on this, which is 2 buildings, so we only need 2 parcels, and this application is to consolidate the 9 into 2. Is there any questions you might have?
I was
And
just
planning
wondering
has looked at it.
how soon you would be starting after you get approval.
That's a good question. I'm not trying to be evasive, but the economy now, with the higher interest rates and construction costs, has caused us to pause the project. I think a short time, I'd like to start in May instead of right now. We've been waiting in kind of a holding pattern to see if we're going into recession or we'll stay level like now. If we stay level like now, I think the economy will slow down a little bit and interest rates will slightly adjust downward and construction costs will slightly adjust downward, and then we'll be ready to go. But right now we have kind of the highest of everything, and that's not ideal. So
And do you anticipate how long it will take once you get started?
Once we start construction, it's about a 11-month to 12-month construction process, and then leasing for tenants is 8 to 12 to 14. It depends on the economy, typical. So we should be from starting to occupied 24 months.
Thank you.
Sure.
Amy, I have a question for you.
Okay.
As far as egress for fire, where this is now going to be 2 separate parcels and there's only 1 entrance per parcel now, does there need to be a review from the fire department as far as egress and maybe some type of easement? I mean, I know you're going to keep the parking this way you are, but whereas 2 separate parcels, or do we needing 2 points of egress for each piece of property?
I think Alaka did the fire marshal review this plan as to whether or not that the additional that additional egress is needed.
For this plat, I don't think so. But they did review the site plan, but not necessarily having 2 different lots. This probably should have been done before the site plan was approved, but we're here now. So if you'd like, we can get it tabled and have them take a look at it. But I was under the impression that they would already have taken a look at that when the site plan was approved. But yeah, we can.
Even having the 2 lots, when they looked at it, it was 2 lots then?
I believe actually that one was 1 lot, right, for the site plan?
Yeah,
from what
it
I
was.
can recall.
I believe so, but I think that it might be wise to table it, and we can get Fire Marshal Reed to look at it and make sure that we have the appropriate, and usually that's what happens, so it's a little surprising on this one that this
it
might have
didn't.
been kind of in between Sherry leaving and Alaka taking over a lot of Sherry's duties, so we apologize, and we'll get that remedied.
Yeah.
Perfect. I don't see any problems with it. I just want to make sure that 1 lot gets sold at some point. They know they have fire egress to their neighbors.
You can come up.
Oh, please.
The site plan hasn't changed, and the access hasn't changed, and the fire marshal has approved the site plan and the access. So when the 2 parcels are formed, there's a parcel line, property line between the 2 buildings, but that doesn't change the access, and the CCNRs require that no wall can be constructed, so there isn't a division of access between the properties. The properties could be separately disposed of or financed or something like that, but there isn't a barrier or any other item that would restrict access. The parcel lines are just a legal differentiation between the 2 building parcels. So there isn't any change in what the fire marshal approved, just to throw that out there.
The council could approve it subject to the fire marshal's approval of the new.
I have no issue with that. Yeah.
I think that would
I
be
just
good.
want to make sure it's been looked at, and if it requires some type of easement put on the plot, then we'd get that done.
Yeah, we could do that. That's not a problem at all.
Okay. Well, any other questions from the council?
May I ask a question about that?
Yes, come on up to the mic, please.
If I may?
Yeah, come up to the
Yeah.
mic there.
So it does need to be confirmed, but I'm 99% sure our civil engineer put cross easement language already on the parcels when it's recorded. That's a matter of record. Anyway, when we have the fire marshal review it again, how would you like that to be run? Through planning commission department, through your office?
It would just be given to Alaka.
Okay.
So then when you go to have the pre-construction meeting, we'd have it already in place, and we'd know that it's been.
Sure. Okay, so we'll work with you on that then. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morse. Okay, I'm ready for a motion if the council's ready.
I move that we give final subdivision approval to the commercial subdivision at approximately 1900 West and 2100 South based on, based on the fire marshal's agreement with the egresses.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on this project? Okay, we'll go ahead and just do a vote on this one. Is that going to work all right? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, as long as we have that taken care of, that covers it, and we'll take care of that as you get that completed. We'll move on to the next item. Item B, action on ordinance 24-2023, a rezone from C1 to C2, approximately 3753 South Midland Drive. And the parcel numbers are listed on here. Mr. Blaine Willardson. Want to come forward?
Blaine Willardson, 3747 Midland Drive.
What you planning to do?
I've got to move my shop back there.
Okay.
We're also going to, along with that, we're going to be starting another company that does some training on painting and that kind of stuff. There's a major gap in that stuff out there right now. There's no facility, nothing for that higher level of refinish technicians. So,
Mr. Knudsen, could you just repeat that? I'm sorry.
Oh, can you not hear me? Anyway, what we're doing along with moving Elite Customs back to this piece would be that we're going to start a training facility to help a higher level of training for painting, industrial and or automotive.
Wonderful.
And I think it does fall within our general plan, which is nice as well. Is there any other questions from the council on this?
No, but I do like the training facility idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, there's a huge hole in technicians out there right now, and
Yeah, I know.
I would like there's a generation of people that I think we could put to work and make good money.
Is that what pushed to C2 was the training facility?
No, I think it was everything needed to go to
Okay.
C2.
Okay, any further questions? Ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve action on ordinance 24-2023, rezone from C1 to C2.
Second. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. I just wanted to get a second in. I never get those in, so sorry.
Okay. I just wondered if I did something
No,
wrong.
you did
Complete your
fantastic.
motion, go ahead.
3753 South Midland Drive, parcel numbers 08-022-0017 and 08-22-0042 Blaine Willardson.
Second now.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion from the council? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. We'll start out with Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
and Councilmember Call.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much for coming
One
in.
quick question.
Yes, sir.
What's my next step?
Next step, you'd probably want to contact the city and get in touch with Alika over there, and she can guide you on that.
Spectacular. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, we move on to our next item on here, item C, action on ordinance 25-2023, Fourth Amendment to the Green Farm Master Development Agreement.
So, the Fourth Amendment came in front of the Planning Commission. There was a public hearing held. Nobody spoke. We just talked through all of the progress that Nielsen Homes has made in the open space areas. They've completed everything on the punch list, including the new item that the council had talked to them about with the drainage in Open Space Area 3. They have they ripped out that area, put down rock, laid down the sod. Brock went and checked that, so that has been taken care of. The weeds were removed in Open Space Area 2, that we had discussed in the last meeting. They've been providing weekly updates, and it looks like, well, we already kind of knew this anyway, but the large pavilion, the building permit was approved and fees were paid last week. They were hoping to be able to start that excavation this week. When it comes to well, Brock had asked to have concrete put on the bottom of at the base of the park benches, just so that it made it easier for trimming. And that's supposed to be installed by the end of this week. We'll know with the new update whether that hasn't happened yet, but it was supposed to happen by the end of this week. So they've essentially done what they're supposed to do. And so it's been several months coming, but I think that a lot of really great progress has been made. And at this time, we're looking at whether or not to adopt the Fourth Amendment to the MDA, which, deals with the notice of default that we issued. The only difference that the Planning Commission, they made a recommendation regarding being able to accept open space area now, like at the end of this month, and then have all the rest of the open space areas be accepted May 31st, 2024, based upon, their performance of the items that have been outlined in the Fourth Amendment. I had expressed some issues regarding whether or not to accept open space area 3 because of the construction zone. However, based upon what Mike Flood represented last week at the Planning Commission, I really don't have those issues anymore. Mainly because the excavation is done, so there's not any of that heavy equipment anymore. They're framing. With it turning cold, we're not going to be seeing as much use of that park. And frankly, they'll have the majority of the construction done by the time it starts to get warm next year, based upon what he's saying. So I don't think that it will be any more dangerous than somebody constructing a home, and the liability issue is we are no more liable than any other park that we have anywhere else in the city. It was my just concern about they were gonna be doing some heavy excavation. They're done with that now, and they're making really good progress on the community center. Jeff Reed had sent out an email earlier today regarding that they've made some really good progress on it, and based upon that and kind of where they're moving, they should be doing like finish work come spring, and so it's not going to be the same as if they were ripping up the site.
Okay, thank you for that report. Is there any other questions from the council on this?
Did I see an email talking about amendment number 5?
They are talking about the possibility of an amendment number 5, and it has to do with some possible issues regarding the pond and the community center.
Would that affect anything we're doing now?
No,
Okay.
it has nothing to do, because this one, the Fourth Amendment only is dealing with all the open spaces except for the pond open space. So that's not an issue.
Okay.
I think one of the concerns we had before was just, that was expressed by the council, was just making sure that the city didn't have any, major liabilities to what was going on. As Amy had explained it, I think she made it pretty clear, that was my question as well. Came back pretty clear that things look really good and we could possibly move forward with accepting that. So I'm ready for a motion or recommendation on this.
I drive past that every day and it looks a lot better than it did. So, very pleased with it, and I think the community center is actually going up faster than my house did. So kudos on that. With that said, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 25-2023 Fourth Amendment to the Green Farm Master Development Agreement.
Do we need to add in that motion, is it all set up in here so that we do accept that?
Yeah, the draft of the Fourth Amendment that you have does have the third open space area 3 being dedicated 11/30/20, us accepting dedication 11/30/2023.
Okay. I think we're good with that then. Okay, ready for a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on this project? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. We'll do Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
and Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We're good to go. Thank you.
We made it. We made it.
Good
Me
job.
too. Me too.
Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Great to have Amy's leadership and pushing permits and things through, so thank you all.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to item D, action on resolution 39-2023 to amend the moderate income housing element of the general plan.
This one's
Alika?
actually labeled incorrectly. It needs to be 41-2023.
There's a change on it.
Yeah,
It's what, at 41?
41, yeah.
41, okay.
It's now 41.
We'll change that action on resolution to 41-2023. Okay.
Bring that down. All right, so earlier this year, I believe back in February, Ordinance 0123 was adopted, which outlined the 4 goals that the city set to achieve for the moderate income housing plan. So we sent that off, and we received a letter back saying that we were non-compliant, there was some deficiency. But the good news is it was something minor. It was just the wording on goal number 4. Let's get that up. First, I guess for the report we sent out was strategy number 2. So all that was changed was the wording on that sentence to make sure that it is compliance with state code. I did send a copy of this back out to the state, and they said that it all looked good, and now we are in compliance. So yeah.
Always good to be in compliance.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council on this? I think it was pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Ready for a motion?
I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 41-2023 to amend the moderate income housing element of the general plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion from the council? We'll do a roll call on this. Councilmember Call,
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
and Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you for correcting that, getting that all done for us. All right, we'll move on to item 10 on the agenda is a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public input on an ordinance creating a consolidated fee schedule. So we will get started with that. We'll need a motion to go into, unless you want to do an explanation first.
Just a real quick one. This has actually been a little time coming. We've started working on it, but then we recodified. So then we had to stop working on it so that we could fix the numbering in the code. The whole purpose of this is so that if we need to change fees, we can do so by going to this schedule instead of having to search the whole entire code to be able to change them. It makes it a lot more, it just makes it easier to deal with, and also we can put this on our website so that people can be aware as to what our fees are.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll go ahead and I'll take a motion to move from our standard meeting into a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we are now in our public hearing. If anyone would like to come up, you feel welcome to. Okay, seeing none, we'll move out of our public hearing back to our public meeting, and I'll need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're back in our public meeting again. So is there any concerns or issues? On
I just had one thing that I wanted to bring up. So with the Green Farms building going so quickly, do we just want to add this to the consolidation fee right now? Their rental for residents as well as the community room? Because as I understand it, we were going to rent that as well.
I would ask to wait until we actually have the building up so that, I don't know, I think it's being able to walk into it and being able to kind of maybe assess it better once it's up and going, but that's what the beauty of this is is that we can then make that change by doing a resolution.
Okay, perfect.
I think in review of some of the things on here, the items, some things didn't change, some did change. Didn't notice much for non-resident fees.
I was just gonna say the exact
types
same
of
thing.
things. Yeah. So I'm wondering if there was anything on non-resident that was brought up, because we do have some things that have been affected with that in the past.
Everything that is listed right now are the things that we have been currently charging. So if we want to go back and well, except for they're not currently charging, but we did adjust some of the fees, like the rental for like this building, or there's some of the rec fees that needed to be adjusted. If we want to look at the community room rental, it had non-resident. If there's some other, well, and I think the cemetery had non-residential costs, but if there's other areas that you want us to go back and look at, we can certainly do that and be able to, add those fees. Another fee that we did add, it has to do with building inspections, that if somebody schedules a building inspection and they are not ready, then we added that in because evidently that's become a major issue, that contractors are scheduling stuff and they're not ready, and Brian will have to go all the way out and realize they're nowhere near a four-way, and so it's been a waste of time. So that was something that we did add in that was extra. But if there's other topics or other areas, we can certainly look at that.
Do you know if it's been a while since we compared to other cities to see if we're in line, or
With which?
just any of them?
Do you know? I know that like with the rec fees, they do try to, look at those, and some of it has to do with other charges that we were just having to deal with, like
Cost of services for sure.
have gone up.
Back to the non-resident, I noticed in looking at this, there isn't anything listed here for non-resident recreation fees. But I know in the past, it's been such a minimal amount for some of these sports that I think we're probably subsidizing kids from other cities who have programs in place already, but choose to play here.
So would you like us to have Parks and Rec go through and
Yeah.
Look at that non-residential?
I think it would be beneficial to go through and take a look at that, because I think in some cases the fee is only $5 more, which if we're not subsidizing anything further than that, then that's fine. But a kid playing basketball costs $100 and we're only charging them $55 or whatever the amount is, then we probably ought to look at that, make sure that the cost to play is consistent with what it costs us for them to play.
Okay.
I would also like to suggest that maybe they look at, if they have more than one child playing a sport in West Haven, that there might be a small discount for the second one or the third one. I've looked at other cities and they've done that. So if you have two playing the same sport, there's a discount. I don't know what it would be, but.
Any other areas?
I would like to see a cooperative agreement with Hooper and Roy and unincorporated Weber County for the non-resident fees. I'd really not want to charge any of these kids any additional monies, but I would like some type of agreement where the other cities pay the equal amount of that fee towards us for subsidizing it for them. I think that's how I'd like to see it go
Especially in the
forward.
football program, which is so expensive to run. Yeah, I agree with that.
We also don't have pavilion rental fees on here.
We did add that. Yeah. Because there had been a glitch. Yeah, it's
right here.
And that one does have resident and non-resident.
Yeah.
Got it. I have the old version.
Sorry.
so I didn't see the new one. Cause see, I wrote some notes on here.
I don't know if you need the numbers, but that's what the numbers are.
Yeah, there was a couple things, on here. I agree with that. We may need to just review a few items on here, but let's make sure we get everything else. If there was anything else that was brought up, concerned, so we can get it next time.
I had a question on the miscellaneous fees.
What was that? The which fees?
Miscellaneous fees. We list their records week request. Is that a grandma
Yes.
request? Because don't we have to adopt that by resolution, by state code? We have to have adopted. Does this count as?
It can count, but that is going to be, and that is coming.
So we are going to have that.
Yes, we
Okay.
will have it.
That was my question. Make sure that we have.
Yeah, we will be having it. And I was hoping to be able to get it done before the end of this year.
Okay.
There's about 4 different ordinances that I need to, you guys are not gonna love. It's gonna be public hearing December, because there's just some cleanup stuff that needs to be done, like the purchasing policy for the city manager audit. There's a section in our code that references a city administrator, not a city manager. There's the this issue with the grandma fees and how to deal with that. And then there's a section in our code that we need to clean up the language regarding our penalties at the beginning of it. So these are things that are gonna be coming to you, but yes, that is, it'll probably, well, I know that it'll be the second meeting in.
Okay. That's great. Just make sure
Unless,
that we.
of course, I get all sorts of able to do it before I leave on Friday.
On that record request, is that for the first page they pay a quarter, or is it like after 5 pages, then they start paying a quarter per page?
It's for every page.
Every page, no matter what?
Yeah,
So
no, if they get
you're gonna
digital,
print double-sided for them, right, to save them some money?
absolutely.
Perfect.
But if they do digital, we do it for free. So
Okay.
if I email it, I never charge them.
Oh, that's excellent.
You want me to? One question was on the, on miscellaneous fees. Of course, I'm looking at the old copy. But for the community room rental, it has resident, non-resident, and nonprofit. Just curious why, nonprofit is less than resident.
That's what we have historically done. We actually, those fees actually, we did increase. So this is totally up to you as to whether or not you want to set it at set the nonprofit at the same rate as the non-resident. I mean, wasn't it like, was it $10 for the nonprofit before? And then what was the other?
So if you're a resident, it was $20 an hour, and if you're a non-resident, it was $40 an hour, or is currently.
And then it was $10. It's $10 an hour for the nonprofit.
How does is the council okay the way it is, or would you want to change anything on that?
So an example of a nonprofit would be like the Scouts or a church group,
Yeah.
something of that nature. Okay.
We felt it needed to be increased, so we picked a number. So if you want a different number.
I do think that if they're meeting here after hours, then of course we've got to pay people to be here and whatnot, right?
No, we're able to partition the building off so that we don't have to be here for it, but there is wear and tear to our facilities as they do utilize it.
Thoughts? Keep or change?
I think I'm okay with the nonprofits having a lesser price. I think that's fine.
Do you have an example of a non-resident renting our building?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You have an example of a non-resident that would be renting our building or our room?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people come in for baby showers and they just don't live in our city, so we charge them the non-resident fee.
Okay, so we just use like a community gathering room, okay.
One other thing I would probably add to it is the, adult horse groups and things like that under the facility fees for the arena. I know they've all been concerned with raising prices and everything, but arenas are getting harder and harder to find everywhere. But the one thing that is concerning a little bit is just with stock. It's $50 more per year with stock for their fee. I think when you have stock, it's really hard on the arena. I'd like to see that raised up a lot more, because wear and tear on the arena is for that kind of stuff should probably be compensated for, because, and I would like to move that probably from the $50 to $150 for adult horse groups with stock or with any of the Saturday stock charges. That's only $75 for that, and I think that's not that expensive to actually run a program over there if they're doing some kind of a roping, and especially where we're spending, I think it's $5,300 for a new roping chute. It just is expensive to keep up with some of that stuff over there. So I would probably just look at that. I don't know how the council feels about that, but I just noticed that as well.
So your suggestion would be with the adult horse group with stock, $700?
It would be, I would probably raise it up to $650
You just
to
said 150,
$700.
so.
Yeah, it's $700 total.
Okay. I just want to know if I'd done the math.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at different things. Yes, it would be at 700. And then I would raise the Saturday stock charge on that one. I would raise that to 150.
So the nonprofit or the commercial group?
Just the commercial group. I can tell you the wear and tear on the equipment is tough on those.
What about the weeknight stock charge, commercial group?
I would raise that one to at least $50 to $100.
Well, did you want to raise it? I mean, it's right now set at 75. Do you want to do the same 150 that the Saturday stock charge is, or?
Yeah, the weeknight commercial group.
Yeah,
What do you have on yours now?
I have 75.
Oh, that's changed then. Mine was 300.
No, the weeknight commercial group is 300. The weeknight stock
Oh, sure.
charge commercial group is 75.
Okay, yeah, let's just make them the same.
Does anybody else have any?
Um,
Well,
I had
are you
one
guys
more.
good with the 700 and the 150 on those two?
Yeah, I think so.
That's fine with me.
I only had one other regarding park or field use. What does lacrosse fall under?
Hold on. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Are you seeing it, Emily?
I don't see lacrosse anywhere. But it might be, I mean, all the fees seem to be pretty much the same except for adult league soccer.
We can, that's something we can talk to Parks and Rec about, is the lacrosse.
I think it should be added on here simply because we've had lacrosse groups trying to do tournaments here. So we ought to have that added.
Yeah, we can talk to them about getting that.
Okay.
It's gonna be a big deal now that we have our own professional team. Just happened. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did
It's a
not see
big
that.
deal.
Did we?
Yep. The Archers, I believe they are.
Is there any other ones?
I had a question under stormwater. My question was simply about repeat offenses, because when we talk about the code enforcement, he has first, second, whatever, have to keep coming out. If they continually do these things, is it the same fee if it's been more than once?
I believe right now it is. Do you know any different, Emily, about that one? Yeah.
So they'll just get the same ding every time? Okay.
Any other changes? I guess I'm ready for a motion to, we probably have to possibly table this until we get these changes made, do you think, or do you want to do the changes as is? If everyone's happy with that?
Right now I have the three, the facility fees for the arena, the 700 and the two 150s. We can do one of two things when it comes to the more than one child discount, non-residential fees for the recreation and the lacrosse added. We can either come back to you with a resolution that amends this, or we can, or you can table it and we can see about those. Either one.
Is there any,
Council like to do?
is there any heartburn if we wait to have it come back? Is it something we need done to
No.
make the city run smoother?
No, it's,
Okay.
I mean, it's our preference to have it done, but it's not
Absolutely.
like this has to be done immediately. We need to, be using it, other than, there are some increases in the fees, but again, waiting until the first meeting of December is not going to,
So if we approve it now and then do a resolution later, the fees will go into effect. Is that what you're
yeah, it
saying?
would go into effect now, but, you're looking at 3 weeks?
Okay.
Is it really going to make that big of a difference between now and 3 weeks?
So how do we inform like the cities or the groups that are renting the community room all the time? I know they come every week or every month. How are we going to inform them that the fee is increasing?
Well, since there's quite a few that come in regularly, we can call them and let them know that we're changing the fee so that when they come and rent in the future, it will be different.
Either our emails, just so we contact them. That would be good. Thanks, Emily.
So it might just be easier to table it, and then we come back with the changes with, the possibility of the cooperative agreement is not, that one won't be able to be dealt with, but really that's kind of separate. But looking at, adding the lacrosse, the non-residential fees for recreation, the more than one child discount thing, and then the three things with the arena. Was there any other, am I missing anything?
I was just wondering how the council feels about kind of reviewing the community development fees and just kind of seeing how we stack up with, just to make sure we're fair, or that.
What was your question on that one?
Just wondering how these compare to other cities.
So you're talking about the, all of those fees with the community development?
Yeah.
I can have that looked at too between now and the
If
next
we're,
meeting.
and then that way, if we're in line with others, then there wouldn't be any real change. I'm just wondering if we ought to look at it if it's been a while.
It's been since 2/6 of 19, so that's when they were last done on there, and the fees haven't changed.
So it might be wise to look at that, and maybe even the other one I was wondering about is just like the illicit discharge violation. If those fees are,
We can, like I said, with both the community development and the illicit, do you want me to just have them look at all of the stormwater fees
guess we might as well while we're doing it.
to
What does
compare?
everybody else think?
That's fine. If the council feels like they want to look at them, that's fine. You bet. Take a peek at them and see if there's any need for increase.
I can do that. So then, yeah, definitely table it. We can get those looked at by next meeting.
Okay. All right. I'm ready for a motion. Item 11.
I'll make a motion to table action on public hearing for the adoption of ordinance 26-2023, an ordinance creating a consolidated fee schedule.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries to table 11. We'll move to item 12, discussion and possible action on Glover Estates streetlights. I know this is for set up in your packet on here for a private road.
I think it would be best to have Ed, our engineer, address this. He's the one who wrote the,
Want to come up? Mr. McNoyne?
We're bringing forth tonight a situation that I haven't encountered since I've been here, and I think it's a good opportunity for us to maybe start developing some city policies with regard to streetlights, which we don't really have anything codified at this point. But I did submit a staff report in your last packet, basically outlining the history of how this property became developed. And just briefly, it started as one big subdivision, the Knudsen Corner subdivision, and there was an MDA attached to it. And over time, it was broken into 3 separate projects. We had Knudsen Corners, we had Glover Estates, and then we had the apartments. It's interesting because the MDA does specifically mention streetlights, but it only mentions 3 public streetlights along 2400 West, which would not be unusual. And then there were 3 streetlights internal to Glover Estates. The status of those has been, I guess, not clear since the beginning. They're on private roads, and the process that was followed prior to me getting here and prior to us reviewing this followed a process as if they were going to be private. Typically, when there's a public streetlight, the city will make the outreach to Rocky Mountain Power. The city, they will purchase the poles and the lights through Rocky Mountain Power, and then we would pay for the contract, and once we pay for the contract, Rocky Mountain Power will put the lights on. This one, the contractor purchased the poles, which were okay, they were fine, they weren't like, they were according to specifications. And there were some issues that they were not getting electrified. And back and forth with Rocky Mountain Power, it turned out it was Rocky Mountain Power's position that the installations were not complete, not correct to their standards, things like that. And for many months, we've been trying to get that part rectified, which I think I'm happy to report, I think that's all been addressed at this point. We had a meeting with the HOA and 2 of the developers of the site. And obviously, I think there's a difference of recollection of what was agreed to, what and where. We have nothing that was ever put in writing. The developer made the statement that during the construction, he was told that the city will take over the lights, but the HOA would reimburse the city. Now, that's a situation that we don't have anywhere else at this point. So where we are tonight is that I found out from 2 gentlemen, one from the HOA and one from the neighborhood, that the lights are on. And I don't know how that happened, because I know the city did not give authorization to put it on our account. It was pending what happens here tonight.
Ed, can I ask?
Is there any question? Yeah, I think I'm just trying to give you an overview of how we got to where we are.
So on your page here, looks like an aerial view. It shows 4 blue dots on 2400. Is there only 3 lights there, not 4? As I drove through there today, I didn't see one on the corner of 3300 and 2400. But your notes say that there's 3 that were supposed to be installed.
No, the 3 of them, the one up north, that wasn't part of this project. So the 3 south ones, 3
Okay,
southern
perfect.
ones, yes. It's my understanding that the one going into the Knudsen Corners is not on. But I know when we spoke to the contractor, there was something with the conduit that he had to fix, so that might have been delayed a little bit. But I don't think, the city's not disputing that the lights that are on the public roads will certainly be the city's responsibility. Again, the question becomes, how do we want to handle the the internal streetlights on private streets. If they are private, it requires that each light be metered, and then the HOA would have to enter into a separate contract with Rocky Mountain Power and pay monthly service like you would do for a single-family house. In actuality, and I think this came up, metering would probably be cheaper for them in the long run. It's the installation costs, which I think are prohibitive right now, or they think it's prohibitive because we don't have exact numbers, but from what I understand, because the neighborhood developed, the lights are in, try to modify it to add the meters and add meter pedestals, it might be, it's a cost that the HOA says that they did not have budgeted and didn't anticipate having to pay for.
So all 6 are lit up right now, or just
5 of them.
5 of the 6 are lit up tonight somehow?
The only one that's not on is the one on the Knutson corner. Is that what you said? Yeah.
And that's the one on the private road.
No, it's the one on the public road.
So, okay,
The
the
one
blue
on
dot.
the north side going into Knutson
All
Apartments.
3 on the private road are lit up tonight.
They're lit, and then the one, which should be a public one, it should be blue, the one on the corner of Knutson and.
Oh, that one should be blue, okay. So
yeah.
there's 4
there should be
city lights.
4 city
3
lights and
private.
three interior
Thank
lights.
you. Sorry, Councilmember Saunders. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
there.
good. So would there be 4 city, or if
Yes, there are,
or would there be 5? If one of these
there
red
be,
ones-
there's 4, there should be 4 city lights, one's miscolored. And then the other 3, which are running north-south along, I can't read my own thing, Isabel Way. Those are the 3 that are interior, and those are the ones that are subject to
So
what we're talking about tonight.
my question is what in your experience is typical? Is it typical for the city to take care of the installation and then enter into an agreement to get paid back for the private lights and the use of the
I haven't come across that situation. As a rule of thumb, if it's a private street, typically the lights will be private.
Okay, that's
We just haven't had.
that makes sense to
We
me.
haven't had any, well, I shouldn't say that. We do have 2 applications that have been approved, but plans have not been approved yet, with private roads and with the understanding that the lights will be private. The question here is whether, if this particular project, if that was explained clearly to the developers at that time, and whether the HOA was under the presumption that they were not, because
Is there
nobody seemed to
any
refute there was
evidence
this-
that
there
we
was-
have that the city did make a commitment there?
I'm sorry?
Is there any evidence that we have that the city made
No,
a
I just have,
commitment to that?
I take them at their word, what they said. And based on some of the emails and some of the correspondence I've seen, it all seems to fit this, that seemed to have been the understanding. But there's nothing that says either, certainly not in the MDA, I can't find any emails from the city or anything in a file that says this is what we decided. The plans just show the streetlight locations. They don't depict them as private or public. And I said, the only thing I have to gauge it from is what's in the MDA, where they specifically make 3 lights public.
The HOA president is here if any of you wish to.
I don't think we actually have a development agreement with the HOA. So
No.
I don't know why we would have that conversation, unfortunately. Is the developer present?
I don't,
No, and the developer neither developer, Hugh Park or John
Clayton?
Clayton, they did not write a letter addressing this. I'd asked both of them when we met, asked all 3 to write a letter to the council as to what the request was.
Because,
And the
yeah, they're the
developers,
ones who are representing the conversation that were had during construction. So they're not here to answer your questions on
And
that
then
part.
what is the typical cost to take
It
care of
depends on the tariff rate, but it's probably $12 or $13 a month per light. That's what we pay now.
Does that include the installation and everything?
The installations are generally covered by the developer, and the city typically pays for the lights themselves. In this case, the developer paid for the lights. Again, that would lead me to believe it was supposed to be a private installation. but that expense has been covered by the developer. The developer's been very helpful lately in finishing up whatever needed to be done to get the lights operational, because that was sort of how we had tried to direct him to get it to that point. And the one issue he did bring up was that the light on, it's the second one heading north on, whatever that road is.
It's on 2400
2400.
West.
He had said that because of the location of the nearest power source, it was too far to run it to, for the city to have it on our, under our contract. It's connected to a building there, so he represents that there, he's actually paying for that light monthly.
Who's paying for which one? Sorry. Let me-
The one that is right there before you enter into Trail Hollow Apartments on 2400 West. He hooked that one to his building, the building that's closest to that light to be able to energize it. So it's on his meter and not the city's meter. But that was, based upon his representation, that was his decision. That was not.
Yes, that was not directed by the city, and I mean, I certainly wasn't aware of it. I don't know whether anybody in the city had been aware of it.
I think that was done before Ed's time, that it had been hooked up that way.
So there's 5 lights in this overall complex here that are the cities. That we definitely know are ours. How do we contract with Rocky Mountain Power for those 5 lights? Do we just hardwire it and they just give us a fixed rate?
Typically, what we put in a request for a work order, and then we would, they would send us an invoice with the contract saying it's gonna cost and it tends
Estimated.
to be different, you know, 3,000-4,000, it could be 10,000, it depends on the installation and how complicated they are. And then typically, what we had been doing, city would enter in the contract, pay the fee, and then we would submit that invoice back to the contractor for reimbursement, or for the developer for reimbursement. And then the city's responsible for the monthly payments of the lights.
Unmetered though, it's just projected,
Unmetered,
estimated.
yeah, they're flat rate unmetered.
Understood, okay. And do we have all 5 of those taken care of with Rocky Mountain Power, or we?
No,
So none of
but I
those are
said
done
that
on
the
our side
fact
yet?
that they're on, the presumption to me is that they think they're city lights. But the city never said or agreed to that at this point with Rocky Mountain Power. They were part of all these discussions as whether they were supposed to be public, private, and I just said, hold off on a decision yet because this is gonna come before the council, and I'll give them follow-up once the council makes a determination.
Okay. So would our building official have any documentation on what he inspected to get these even turned on? Like, does he know where the conduits ran to, and is there a site plan that
No,
shows that?
typically it would be Rocky Mountain Power who would do the inspections of the installations.
Of
City-
all the
of all
conduit
the
and
lights,
wire
the
and
conduits,
connection point?
yes, yep.
Okay,
And that was the reason why they had said there was an issue with these particular ones, because they were not called until the lights were installed. And then they found missing issues, and to be honest, they seemed to be rather minor issues, to be honest, wiring issues and some stuff like that. But that's a typical process.
So I'm a little bit confused, Ed. Are the private lights in as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And apparently they're operational,
Yeah,
yes.
And
evidently.
they've paid for them privately.
They were paid for, the developer paid for the poles and did the installation as part of the project, correct.
Okay, and what they're disputing is paying the fee going
Right
forward.
now, I would have to, well, there's no contract in place. So I don't know what Rocky Mountain Power, how they're considering it right now. Because they made it clear there was never a request for a contract, and the city was never given a contract to make them public. If the council chooses to go that way, then I just go back to Rocky Mountain Power. They've already inspected them and they've turned them on, so I would presume they're satisfied with the installation. And then we would just get a monthly bill for those lights like we get for many other streetlights in the city.
So Rocky Mountain Power is requesting a meter for the 3 on the private road.
Rocky Mountain Power's not requesting that. They said if it's private, then they have to put the meters in. And the city would not be involved with that process. They would,
Okay.
the HOA would have to contract separately as just a
single
outside
meter though,
user.
right? Not one per pole, just a single meter
One,
somewhere
no,
in
one
that
meter,
s-
1 meter
Pole.
per pole.
Pole.
Yeah,
So
that's
is
the-
there a way that
$15,000
we can just
apiece.
bill the HOA now with the bill that we get for those private lights?
I'm sorry.
So is there a way that we take the bill and then is it separate from the rest of the bills? Do we know
I
how
thi-
much
I
the
think
power
that
is for
it's-
any given
I
light?
don't, the arrangement that was, what they said they had, with the agreement they said they had gotten into with the city, again, was very unusual. I never heard
We
of
have no
where
doubt.
we would call them public lights and then have the HOA reimburse the city. That's just not a common practice. We're either all in or all out typically on these things. I don't even know if there's even a mechanism where we'd be able to.
Even know how much it was, right?
Or we would know how much they were, but I would assume that we'll get other HOAs who would come and say, how come you don't do that for us?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to one of these HOAs coming and saying, hey, come plow our road and we'll pay you. You know, we're not into that
No, not at all.
business. So it's this weird situation that it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
So would we
What are we
be-
gonna do if the HOA quits paying? I mean, one, we're not exactly sure about how the mechanism to be able to move forward with that, but then if they stop paying, then we're gonna have to, which is not necessarily unusual for an HOA to go away.
Right.
We've seen it, so yeah, how to,
So contract law, right? So our contract says they have to have 3 poles under the development agreement. They have that.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that it has to be illuminated, correct?
no,
It doesn't state
it
that.
doesn't say who's
So
going to
at this
pay for
point,
it.
they don't even have to have the lights lit up if they choose not to, in my opinion. Same thing for us. We should be contractually taking care of this with Rocky Mountain Power to get our lights on board. But when it comes to private roads, it's no different than an apartment complex. The city doesn't pay for all the lighting on the streets around an apartment complex. It's the same thing here. So the developer came to the city with a product to maximize profits. So they did private roads, shorter driveways, and that's what they got. It's nothing I would have approved. But unfortunately, those lights that light those roads are part of that project that they made that extra money on for the density. So for me, it's outside of the city scope. Now, whether the HOA that's responsible turns the lights off, I think it's fine. I think the developer met the line item in the contract. We have no recourse probably with the developer. We could probably write them a letter and call them, but I think they met it contractually. And so that's where I would stand with my opinion.
I just want to just state for the record, the lights are shown on the approved plans though. So it was the city's expectation that they would be installed and turned on.
We don't think we have an ordinance that requires lighting in private roads or in,
No,
Apartment
it's silent to all
complexes.
of this, and I said, I was
Yeah.
talking to Amy about how we can maybe codify some of these issues.
it might make
because
good flagpoles. I don't know.
It's, I know you, everybody's aware, there's always different opinions about levels of street lighting, whether they should have street lighting.
So I'm sorry, I'm still a little confused. So who's paying the electric bill for the private lights now?
Nobody knows.
Nobody.
Oh,
Nobody.
We just barely found
And
out that they're
maybe
on.
maybe they'll forget that they're on, you know.
It's likely that the city.
They want us to pay and
So basically, what's before the council, do the lights, do they stay unmetered and the city assumes the responsibility for paying for them? Or does the city say, put the meters on and HOA, you get a separate bill and leave the city out of it? That's really the choice, unless I'm misstating it, Amy, but I
No,
think that's
I think
really
that
what it is.
that's pretty much it. What to do about those 3 lights? Do we take them over, or do we say it's a private road, they're private street lights, it's your responsibility, HOA? Ed and I did not feel like we should make this decision, and that's why it's in front of you. It's very much a policy issue.
That's fair. It's fair. It should be a council decision anyway, overall, because again, it has to deal with the finances of the city, really, with billing and anything else that's going on. So what other questions does the council have on this?
I don't think I have any other questions on this, but I think I disagree with Councilmember Swap on it. I think because poles were included in the plans, that it was expected that there would be lights there. I think it's unfortunate that that the developer didn't connect them or energize them, but I think the residents are in a situation where, I mean, HOAs don't make $15,000 is a lot of money. And those fees would all be passed on to all of those residents. I have a hard time with that. If it's a minimal amount for the city to take over those lights, then I personally don't see an issue with that. That's my take. That's where I stand.
I agree with Councilmember Morse, but how do we not have this happen in the future? I mean, how do we learn from this mistake and make sure that this doesn't happen again?
I think that the answer is that we will establish a formal policy that will be codified when we're redoing the subdivision ordinance that specifies that.
Yeah, we have to ensure this
Even
doesn't
though
happen again.
for private, and
My biggest issue is setting the precedent.
I mean, this is unique. Unfortunately, it's not unique because since I've been here, there have been several older subdivisions where lights were never installed, but we got them installed because they were city lights and the city required them to be there. These ones said the lights were in. Councilmember Swap's idea, had they not installed them, then that could have been an option if they didn't want to put them in, I guess. But this is what.
So
this one
Amy,
is.
when we're talking about setting a precedent, if we have something that clearly states we don't do this, we would not be setting a precedent, would we? This is a unique.
That is correct. And we are in the middle of doing, amending the subdivision ordinance. It has to be finished by February. So I don't see there being a rush of, of issues with streetlights between now and, of course, okay, now I said that, I'm sorry, I put that out in the universe. But no, this is something that we've talked about with Ed and I have talked about. It's sort of like just the process of how we do streetlights to begin with, because how it's been done before is that the city has to contract with Rocky Mountain Power. They send us a bill. We have paid that bill and then asked the contractor for reimbursement. I don't agree with that. We should be getting the bill from Rocky Mountain Power and then telling the contractor, you pay us, and then we'll pay Rocky Mountain Power, so that we are never in this position of
trying to collect.
And
trying to collect. And so
Another-
that's something that
another
is
previous-
going to change.
Sorry. Another previous practice it's sort of not in the interest of the city, was that the streetlights were usually included as a line item in the escrow for the bonding, which is, it's not necessarily inappropriate, but they always were just estimated. And a lot of times, based on what I've seen going through all these old contracts and everything like that, the city wasn't getting their full amount. So that's why I said to Amy when we started this, let's pay them and then get reimbursed directly. Our ordinance, there's 3 items that we typically seek reimbursement from developers, and that's for streetlights, street signs, and for seal coating the roads after 1 year. And that's been the city practice, I guess, since whenever. Since I've been here, I have no issues, or have had no issues with any contract or developers saying or disagreeing with that. And so street signs are going rather smoothly. Slurry seal, so we'll have it done. We have an invoice. We show them what it cost us to do their streets, and then they reimburse us now, as opposed to just putting some low flat number in an escrow, which we may or may not have gotten in the past.
Well, I agree that this has been between the city and the developer, and then the HOA just kind of got brought into it, stuck in the middle. So I agree with Councilmember Morris. I think we need to learn our lesson and not do this in the future. But I can't imagine making the HOA pay to get those metered, especially each one.
They don't have to pay. That's the thing. Is
Well, they don't have to,
they
but
don't have to have the lights energized.
it sounds like they probably do want the lights, and I can respect that. And I think we keep saying the HOA, but at the end of the day, it's the residents
Yes, but
that are stuck with the bill. It's not just this entity HOA. It's the residents, and that's where I just have a really hard time with that.
I mean, I can't speak for the HOA president himself, but I think had this been proffered at the beginning, they would have factored that in when they formed the HOA and before COs were issued and all that other thing. But
Definitely, yeah.
this has happened a couple of years now after the fact, and I guess that's why it did catch them by surprise, I think.
I also think that for safety reasons, they need the streetlights just for, crime and safety of their residents. So I say let's never do this again, but I think we need to take on this responsibility.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I understand the argument, but it is a private road, and so it makes sense that they're private lights, and they should have factored that cost in. So I think I'm kind of with Councilmember Swap on this. Sorry, Carrie.
Last to speak.
I feel super conflicted about it. I see both sides, and I see that maybe it was not clearly stated, not written, verbal. It was on the plat, but it wasn't in the MDA.
You know, and having said that, I personally, I wouldn't mind if we did hear from the HOA in case there is something that we're missing. So,
Well, I'd like to hear what.
yeah, sorry.
Call says.
Didn't mean to cut you off, Carrie, but I just had to get that out there.
Well, that's what I said. I'm hearing both sides. I get it. I really do get it. But like the mayor said, we are fiscally responsible for how the city spends our funds. And it is a private road, yet we approved the plat with them on there, but nothing really stated who's going to take care of them. And like Ryan said, even in the MDA, it doesn't say, and I noticed that when I was reading, like, oh, it doesn't say they actually have to turn them on.
Yeah.
It just says they have to install them. Because I pay attention to that kind of wording, I did note that. So, I don't know. That's where I'm at. I don't know.
Well,
Does anyone else want to hear from the HOA?
well, I think they had written a letter and everything here, which I think everybody got a chance to read through. We've got a really good detailed staff report. I'm not sure there's a lot more that could be added except for a plea, and I'm sure you'd want to plea that. But under the circumstances, I think we've got enough information on here. Is there anything that you can just tell us that you've missed or that we've missed?
You got to come to the microphone,
Come on
please.
up if you want to speak.
Thank you. And I appreciate everyone so far that has been willing to listen. I do want to clarify, and it's in the letter, our intentions are to pay for it and to maintain those lights moving forward. They were just turned on an hour ago. None of us expected that. So we were hoping to come here to help with that. They are already on, but we are, if we can be billed from the city or whatever it is, our intention is to pay and maintain that. It is just the idea of the meters and then putting, our lots were not designed for that. They're very small for the additional meters on top of it. It was very clear in the meeting that there was just a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misinterpretations, and we're just asking and pleading that we take care of this the best we can and ultimately be safe. We now have apartments in our backyards and we're right next to Midland. We do want those lights to remain on and not be flagpoles.
That's understandable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Just one other clarification, though. If we sign the contract, the city's well, there's two options. There are two tariff rates that Rocky Mountain Power offers. There's a higher rate where we pay for the power and also for maintenance. And then there's a lower one where we just pay power and then the city provides the maintenance. We have a mix of them. And what I've been trying to get
we
from,
and the city.
meaning some
I'm a
that are
little
city and
confused.
some are supposed to be Rocky Mountain Power. And Scott could tell you, there's certain lights where we have to go and change the bulbs, and other ones we have to call Rocky Mountain Power and they send their contractor. But it's, in either way, it's either going to be the city's responsibility to maintain them or be under Rocky Mountain Power, depending on the tariff.
But
So,
it cannot be the HOA's responsibility to maintain them.
not unless I guess there was some kind of agreement with the city, but I don't know. I don't think the city would be really have a reason to want to do that.
Well, I mean, we would have reason to want to do that if we don't want to pay for it, but they do,
Sure.
right?
Yes. Well,
So
I said,
Amy,
I
what
just
I'm
don't-
hearing is they want to pay for it. There's just not an instrument
just,
to
to me,
pay for it.
It's just difficult. I mean, I agree with Ed. We either need to be all in or make it's cleanest to do it that way because frankly, again, if the HOA goes away, then are we suing the citizens who are, we're covered by the HOA, but then the HOA goes away? I mean, and I always, because I'm the attorney, I'm always having to think of, what's the worst case scenario of what could happen? If the HOA goes away, then what? I mean, so frankly, the cleanest would be either all in, and we wouldn't have, as Ed has explained, we wouldn't have the expense of having all 3 meters. It's just hooked up to Rocky Mountain Power account, and we just deal with it that way. But, either all in or the HOA takes care of it all.
and the expense that the city would have had to have paid up front had they been city lights. I don't know what that would have been, because what the contract would have required, but for 3 lights, it probably could have been $7,000 to $10,000 that we would have had to pay initially if they started off being
To
a public
install
street
the
light.
lights? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
I'm not getting what you're saying. I
Oh,
didn't hear
if-
all of
if-
what you
if
said.
under
The
normal-
$7,000 or $10,000 is for what?
For the actual purchase of the lights and
For
purchase of the
install.
lights and installation, yes, by Rocky Mountain Power.
Do we have an idea of what a monthly bill on those lights would be?
For if they were metered,
Yeah.
I don't know specifically. The developer said $3 to $4 a month, so it would be less
To
than what the
$4 a month
yeah, less than what the
per light?
yes.
Probably.
So the HOA is actually offering to pay more than what they would under a metered situation.
Yeah, I'm definitely all in.
But the city wouldn't need to put in meter. The city wouldn't have to meter it if we did it under our
City
own
wouldn't
contract.
have
No,
that
and
cost.
it would be, there would be no further cost. I just think that we would just have to get the contract from Rocky Mountain Power and execute it.
Okay.
So you mentioned there's 2 different fees that Rocky Mountain charges. One,
Yes.
because they own the utility and they would take care of repairs, they'd take care of the light bulbs. The second is
Yes,
they just
but,
provide power on an
what if-
estimated cost, and we have to maintain everything, including the utility line in the ground.
I believe, and I can't state that with certainty because I keep trying to get from Rocky Mountain Power what their definition of maintenance is. And I can't find it in their regulations, and nobody can explain it to me. Because I had the same kind of question. I think the general understanding would be anything above the ground would be our responsibility, and anything below the ground they would still have to take care of. So if there was something happened with the main power line coming in or something with a conduit, Rocky Mountain Power would be responsible for fixing that. But things like if a bulb goes out, we would have to get the bulb in. In the cases where sometimes there's accidents and knocks down a pole, usually the cities will try to get that back through insurance, but the city would be up for that cost too if that was the case.
Okay. Any other discussions, questions?
So, what do you estimate where, if the city took it over, our extra cost would be? Do you have any idea?
It would just be the monthly fee, which is, I guess, $12 or $13 per light. And depending, Rocky Mountain Power assigns us the tariff a lot of times. At least that's how it had been. And I guess I'm still trying to extract from them what they mean by maintenance, because I know Scott gets confused. And there's sometimes where he'll just call Rocky Mountain Power and their contractor shows up. And then they'll say, well, next time that's your light. It's just not. It's not
I get
clear.
it. They're tough to pin down, but
And I don't think
roughly.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of maintenance that we actually have done on the lights. I know Scott has told me when lights have gone out, then he's replaced them, or said Rocky Mountain Power's contractor has replaced the light bulbs. But we've never had any more damage than that from
So
what
it'd
I
be
know.
like about $45 for the 3 per month?
Sorry?
Do you think it'd be about $45?
No,
for
it's
the
about
3?
$13, I think the tariff was, for 13 or 14, something in that range.
Per month
All
for
of them
each
or
of the
for
3.
each?
No, for each, yeah. But remember, we have hundreds of them in the city.
But for these 3,
Yes.
if you have $13.
I'd say, yeah, you're looking at under $50 a month
For all 3.
for the 3 of them. No, for the 3 extra ones. We're going to pay for the other ones anyway, they're public.
I get it. So just for the 3 extra,
3, yeah,
roughly
depending
$50
what the actual number is this year. I don't know
$600
whether
a year.
It'd be, yes. And I could certainly get you that number.
Okay, is everybody clear? I mean, I'm ready for a motion so we can.
I'll make a motion. I would move to, I'm not even sure how to say this, but Amy, you'll correct me, I guess. I would move to have the city agree to pay for the lights to be turned on and kept on.
Second.
Maybe could you amend it to
I would
say
love
that
to amend it.
that the city take ownership of these 3 lights
Thank you.
and have them, now I can't think.
The contract with Rocky Mountain Power.
Yeah, have them placed on the city's Rocky Mountain Power contract.
So moved.
Can I ask a question to that now? So we're now taking ownership and we know one light is not on. We don't know anything about it.
No, that's not,
Yes.
the light that's not on is not the one that
Yeah,
we're talking
that's
about.
that's
No.
separate. That's on the Knutson side.
So
These
if
are
this
the
goes,
3
we're taking ownership of,
the 3 in the, that
our
are
private
on the
roads.
private roads in Glover Estates.
And one of them is connected to a building.
No, that's not, that's on a,
That's not the
that's
one.
on a public road.
That's not the same one.
It's just the 3 on the private road in Glover Estates.
Okay. All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second
Whatever you said.
on this. So we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
nay.
Councilmember Call,
I
and Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. So, all right, the city will take those lights over then for you guys from there. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
All right, we'll move on to item 13, discussion and possible action for the economic development request for proposal.
So, the form was provided to you guys last meeting, as to a possibility of hiring, a, economic development, consultant to be able to work on our economic development. Hopefully you have gone over it, you've pondered it heavily, you've, made notes and would like to discuss it at this time.
You want to start first that pondered the most?
Have we done this before, Amy? Have we contracted with, and it was with Zion, whoever that was?
Yes, but I actually have the name of a couple of people that specifically going to send it to. One is somebody that, so when I called over to Roy to talk to Matt Andrews about the recycling, I actually got into a conversation with him about who they've been using for economic development. And his last name is Sant. I knew his father really well, Randy Sant, but it's his son that is now doing it. And evidently, he's done a really great job for them over there. Also, Lewis and Young does an amazing job with this type of thing too. And so there's a couple of people like that I think would be really good to send it to.
I would suggest that we want to change the population figures to a higher number.
Now that you've done that,
In the second paragraph, we say 21,000.
so what was it in your?
What was the number you had?
26,475.
26,546 is what the census reported.
So what was
Not
it?
to be specific.
26,000, let's just say 26.
26,000?
We had
Okay.
one move out today, so you can reduce that down.
25,999.
Okay, what other,
What about dates of service when we do that? Is there a timeline, for what our request is? Because it basically just says till the council, basically, and
where
well,
are,
I'm saying it's not there that I can see that it has a date of.
a date for submission or a date
No,
for
Completion.
a completion
yeah.
date? Well, that was something that,
Okay.
we need to,
Yeah, I guess the wording would be, there's just nothing in there that is, gives a timeline, like a year or 2 years of, or if it's going to just be completed until the council says we're done.
well, and how much money you want to,
Yeah, there's a lot of details in this. Is there more detail that we need to add when it comes down to that?
Well, I
Because
wonder if we,
it's kind of an open checkbook.
if we ask, if part of the RFP is that they submit their timeline as well.
okay?
Because you did ask for specifics to certain
Yeah.
areas, right? Which is helpful. That 21st Street project is huge, and we do have some details on that for a baseline. But each project, I guess they'll have to look through and maybe give that detail.
But yeah, we can do timeline, what their timeline would be. I would say ask them what they can have completed within a year.
Okay.
I mean, the one that you guys did in 2019, you put an amount. Here's the amount. We want you to provide, I think it was like either $20,000 or $30,000. I think a lot of this sort of stuff could possibly be dealt with, $50,000 or $60,000. That I think we could get a lot of really good service. But we can either have it open ended and say, we're doing the RFP. We want to work on this for the next year. How much would you charge us to, and refine the scope of work, and say what are you going to charge us for this type of thing? Or we can give an amount. This is how much we're willing to spend. It's all quiet, which
I think we were burned out on streetlights.
do you want to work on it some more and
Wondering-
discuss it at the next meeting, or? And Carrie saying no, so
If we did put a cost, kind of a cap on it, do we have any idea what that should be?
I'm saying I think that we could possibly get good service for, my guess would be 50 to 70,000 is.
So basically, the fee is going to be based on their time, right? Because they're going to have to figure out, and then whatever time will be the fee. So those two things are correlated. So whether we ask them for $50,000, it will determine the amount of time they spend on it. So,
Or if we base it on, this is the scope of work, how long is it going to take, and how much are you going to
okay,
charge us
I like
for?
that.
I like that.
I like the firm fixed price better than putting an allowance out there and they agree to it, because they can decide internally when they hit a wall and they don't want to put any more time to it and say they've hit that budget, versus if they bid an actual product with a fixed price, we should get that product.
So you're in,
I want a hard price from them. I don't
from
want
them,
to-
so
Correct.
basically what Kim and Nina said, okay, I get that.
Yes. Should probably be talking into the mic here.
With the scope of work, is there any other, anything else you want to add in that scope of work?
I liked what was there. Those are important projects. Anybody see anything else they want to add?
I don't.
I didn't.
So if we hit dates and the dates come and go, what do we do?
Well, what do you mean hit dates?
So say we contract them and give us a firm fixed price, they come back and say we can do it in 180 days or whatever it is they think they can do whatever in, and they don't get that. Do we have anything that speaks to that?
Well, whichever proposal we accept, we will enter into a contract with them.
Okay.
And that would delineate what would happen if they don't meet dates and don't complete the goals that are outlined. So that's how we deal with it. They'd be just like any other subcontractor.
Gotcha. I just wonder if we were to put it in here just generally, that if it doesn't work out, you don't do what you said you were going to do, we're allowed to hire someone else to complete it, and the difference would come out of what we owe you. Just something brief, because the individual contract, because it's gonna be a negotiation, and then it changes the actual terms of the contract once they think they've been awarded the contract. I don't think it's a fair bidding process.
We can put in there, in like the minimum qualification, something like that. That they agree that, well, let's see, hold on. We could put something in underneath the performance requirements, under paragraph 5.
So in the construction world, they call it liquidated damages if you exceed the dates on there, right? So I just want something in there that everybody knows that they're being held to it, and we're not a city that bails people out when they come up with their issues to city council.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Like I said, it would probably go best in the performance requirements.
That'd be great. If we could add something there, that'd be awesome.
What about the timeline? How long do you want to have the proposal be out? Like, talking maybe 3 weeks?
Is that what it usually is? Then let's, yeah.
That's just totally preference. I think that 3 weeks might be a good thing, just to.
Make sure we get everyone who's interested. I think that would be great.
So if we want to put forward this motion just with changes that have been discussed, is that how we would do it?
Yeah, you could make a motion to advertise for an economic development RFP with the changes that have been discussed for the form for a 3-week advertisement period.
So moved.
Perfect.
Second.
I liked it. Great. I was trying to figure out how we were going to do that, but so cool.
I learned that from Nina.
It was
Follow
going
the
around in my
lead.
head, and I was like, okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this from the council? Okay, let's do a roll call on this one. Let's do Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
and Councilmember Call.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Just real briefly, that I probably will not be able to get this out until the last week of November, with me leaving on Saturday.
You're just trying to rub that in.
But I'll come back to 4 weeks worth of work, so if that makes you feel any better.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Kidding.
Item 14 is action on resolution 40-2023, amending the personnel policy.
So moved.
It's
Okay.
one of your favorites.
Did anybody read through this again?
Front to back.
No, I did not. I'll
The
set that
mayor
on
had some
record. I did-
insomnia.
Couldn't sleep one night. No, I didn't.
Do you have more yellow things in there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my
Coming now.
gosh.
I do, just because there's a couple things, and I'd love to pass this off tonight, and we can. But there's some things in here, there are some spelling errors and some issues with the lineage of the A, Bs, and Cs, and the 1, 2, 3s,
Okay.
and some basic things. But I was informed that those things can be corrected after the fact, which is not a problem. But I do have them all marked, and I'm happy to give this copy over. I do have questions and discussions about other pages, but a lot of them are forms and formats and different things that we have them, like, we did discuss things like, with the employees driving vehicles home. It doesn't say anything that I can find in there that talks about, or family members being in vehicles or anything like that. So I'd like to just make sure that we've got that clarity in there. But there's quite a few different things on here. Our meeting is starting to extend, but I'd like to go over, not specifically each item, but we could do that either another time or.
No,
I
let's do
think
it
it's
now.
important to get it right. So if you have content issues, I would love to hear them.
Let's do it now.
Okay, well,
I mean, we all get paid by the hour, right?
Yeah.
I know I
Well,
don't.
some of us do.
Some of us do.
Just start at the beginning, Mayor.
You want me to do this, really?
Yeah. let's
All
do
right,
it. Let's
I'm happy
knock
to
it
do
out.
it.
I would love
All
to
right,
pass this.
let's look at page, if you don't mind, I'll just jump through these real quick. So let's look at page,
Starting at the beginning of your,
Stack, yes.
yeah,
okay.
yeah, but let's go to, I think it's 20 or 21. Let me find it here.
Yes, and thanks for the numbers finally on the pages.
They've always been there.
No, they haven't.
So many
We're always like
Yeah.
scroll, scroll, scroll till you find the section.
One thing, as we were walking through some of the, with the compensation philosophy group, we talked a little bit about having some options out there for insurance, and we'll talk more about that at another time. But they also ask about the possibility of the council having access to some insurance if they paid full premiums on it. So in here, like on 20, it talks about non-merit service and merit service. But it does indicate in here that the mayor and members of the city council and members of the planning commission, well, to me, the planning commission isn't involved in that. That shouldn't be on that list. I don't know why it is.
Because they receive a paycheck from us?
So but they're not considered employees.
What are they considered?
Contractors.
Well, they are as employees in our system. I mean, we pay them the same way that we pay you guys.
But the only thing is on, it has them as appointed positions.
Yeah, they are appointed.
So it doesn't, so they're non-employees really. They're just appointed, even though the city pays them, they're appointed.
Well, but the city manager and the city recorder are also appointed.
That's correct. But that's for merit. That's for merit-based. So the question is that if that will be allowed in there, that we just need to make sure that that verbiage allows that the council has access to that, even though that's not completed yet.
Well, I would suggest that you look at amending, if you guys decide to go and do something different with the elected's insurance, then we come back and we amend it.
Okay.
But we should leave it the way it is until you guys make that decision.
Okay, we can do that. It's just something I wanted to make sure that we had open out. We didn't clarify in here on the, with the scheduled time, because it talks about starting at 8 and ending at 6.
What page?
I'm sorry, page 29. And it's H on page 29. I don't know if that's something that we need to add, just either add a before or after, but it's been left up to the, to the managers, I guess, to make that changes on here. But right now, if they are taking lunch on here, as we talked about, that should be probably added in as part of the time.
I thought we had decided that would be added in.
Well, my understanding was that was going to be added in at the time that the compensation was changed, so that we dealt with it at the same time.
So we'll make an
So
amendment.
should there be some language in here then that specifies that?
Well,
Well, when we adopt it, it's it, right?
well, we can amend it.
Can amend it.
No, what I'm saying, if we adopt it tonight, this is what goes into effect.
Yes, that,
And are we ready to do that?
well, the way that it's written right now is, the practice has been 8 to 6. And I'm not talking about like Parks and Rec, they have, and the Public Works, they have a little slightly different schedule depending on, what's going on or if somebody's on call or that sort of thing. I'm talking about, like people in this building are 8 to 6. Practice has just been 8 to 6. My understanding was the intent would be that we add in a line regarding what to do about lunch at the same time that we address the compensation. Because frankly, right now, the employees view that half an hour as part of their compensation.
I thought we already decided on that one, though, that the 30 minutes needed to be before or after, and that was up to the department head to decide.
But
when
my
to alter
understanding that
shifts.
you didn't want to have that go into effect until you dealt
Got a
at the
new
same
city
time
manager.
with the
It's currently in effect
compensation
in the
change.
current one.
What was that?
That's currently in effect in the current policy, not even this one. That's the way it's set up in the current one.
I understand what you're saying, but what has been the typical practice has been that there hasn't been them taking and basically clocking out for that half an hour. And so because of that, it will be viewed as an issue regarding compensation. I'm not saying that, I'm just letting you know that this is the perception. If you want to deal with it now, then we can do that. Like I said, my understanding from when it came up and we were talking about whether or not to adopt the personnel manual or not, it was, well, let's wait until we do the compensation, finish the compensation committee, and with whatever that recommendation was, because we are anticipating that there's going to be compensation changes, that we would be dealing with it at that same time. The reason why you're seeing this tonight is that Emily and I would prefer, for HR reasons, to have the updated policy and procedures in place right now, and that we come back, and that's not saying there are no HR issues right now. We're just in anticipation, just making sure that we have all of our little duckies in a row. But we come back and deal with, putting in another sentence regarding how we're going to deal with lunch in there at the same time that we deal with the compensation.
So right now, we don't have anything in here about lunch.
No.
Okay. So we can pass this tonight and come back when we have the compensation and decide how we want to communicate that to the employees, because I agree, this is going to be a big deal. It would be to me.
I mean, we're gonna need to have a meeting with everybody, with all the staff, when we do the compensation committee. When you guys make a decision regarding the compensation, we're going to have a meeting when you pass this manual, because there are changes that we need to go over with them. So again, this is a policy decision on your part as to whether or not we add in that extra sentence regarding how to deal with that lunch, or you just leave things the way that they are right now until you make the changes with the compensation.
I think this is part of a bigger conversation that we need to be very careful in approaching, so I would agree with that. I think that we need to be very cognizant of both compensation and how this is going to come across, so I would rather do this now and work on that as we work on the other.
Yeah, I think I agree with Councilmember Dixon. I think this needs an amendment at that point, that we handle that at the time we handle compensation. And then we come back and amend this.
I do agree with that, except it does speak to lunches, so it's contradicting in the policy itself.
Where does it speak to lunch?
On page 32, C, it says they get 30 minutes.
We did put that in.
I knew we did.
So it does say that they're relieved of all their duties and will not be compensated. And on the other page, it says that they have 10 hours. So they do
So-
contradict.
So we
I
either
do agree
can
with what they want to do. I
take
do.
out C for right now and put C back in when we talk about, when we do and also make a reference on page 29 regarding that lunch policy.
That was the reference that came from our original, that, so it wasn't something we just added in. It was something that was already in our original document that we had. That's why we brought it up, actually, in the very beginning.
This sentence, employees are scheduled to begin work at 8 a.m. and end work at 6 p.m. isn't necessarily true for all employees. Right?
That's true, which is why the next paragraph says, however,
May
these
vary.
hours and days may vary depending on work requirements and departmental functions.
So is that broad enough to cover what we need to cover in that statement, Amy?
I think so.
I just think that sentence is going to have to change too once we
Right.
add C back in, if that's what we end up doing. Just change a little bit. Because they're going to have to come in at 7:30 or they're going to be leaving at 6:30, right?
Yeah, and so we can.
So we'll have to
like I said,
change
there
that a
needs
little bit.
to tweak that just a bit. What was that?
Where's that sort of catch-all language?
Yeah, I think it's best just probably to go ahead and we'll make amendments on everything else if we need to, so.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the changes that
29.
I was looking at, we'll look at corrections and other things, I guess, later.
So are they mostly just cosmetic that you're talking about, or do you have some?
I have quite a few cosmetic things, as you put it, but also just discussions on clarifications, but some of them will rely on decisions that are made maybe right after.
Okay.
So we'll just hold off on those, I guess, for now, because.
Because we're going to have to amend it anyway, right?
Well, that's.
Yeah,
that's
we
what we'll end
will
up
when we
doing.
do
But are they all related to compensation? All the things that you have?
Some of them are, but some of them are just also dealing with just forms and documentation.
So we can talk about them now.
Those are things that we'll have to work on. We're not going to make any changes to it. They're already in here, is what we're asking for or what we're requiring. We just need to make sure we have those forms and documentation moving forward. That's all. It really is included. with it.
One of the forms that I know that you were concerned about had to do with the grievance forms, being able to document if a grievance had been made by, a resident. We have actually developed a form for that and are in the middle of developing how to keep a record.
See, and that's a great example, and I'm glad you brought that one up, just because those are the things that we may not have, and they're in our policy.
Right.
So as we develop this and make sure that it's correct, that we we have access to those forms. We can all see those forms and know what those forms are about. And that's something that we can work on more, but those were the things that I ran into when I was just rereading it again. So I'll give this to you guys for review,
Okay.
and you guys can look at it and make the changes on here. They're all marked and everything in here, so, and it'll save us some time on trying to deal with that as well, so.
We're gonna get you a new color highlighter instead of yellow.
Did
We're
you
gonna
put them
get
in
you
bold
pink.
too?
It wasn't on my computer, but I did just mark them in here, so hopefully you can read my writing.
Well, if not, I'll be calling.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, like we never talk. We're good. Okay, is everybody good with that so far?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys want to move forward with this. You're welcome to make a motion on this. Ready for that?
Don't we have somewhere in here something that speaks to them if you need to earn a certificate or further training for whatever certification they can study during work hours?
I don't remember that part. I remember that there's certain education things that we have.
Like you can apply for educational assistance
Yeah.
if you're taking in, but I didn't think that applied to, if the building officials needed to, you know what I mean? I wasn't sure where it was because I remember talking about it and then I couldn't quite find it.
I don't remember reading it lately.
We talked about it. I know we talked about it.
But I don't remember that.
It was probably in our committee.
Yeah, even if we talked about it, doesn't necessarily mean that it showed up in the
Right.
text.
Okay.
It's 142 pages of fun.
Well, I just was thinking about that, and when I was going back over this, that some of them require to have a CDL. Is that something we let them study for while they're here, or they need to go home and do their study and then go take the test? So it was on my mind. I don't know if that matters to anybody else. I mean, I would assume they probably study here when they're moving towards a certain certificate that they need for their job.
I feel like this is
That's a
something
good
that
point.
needs to-
I've not thought about that.
I don't know. Should they study at home?
I think that their study should not be part of their workday. But
Unless the certifications,
Right.
unless we require them to
if it's
do
a
it,
required
then I
certification.
could see it, but otherwise,
I think as long as their manager makes sure that their work is completed and then they're allowed time. Does that make sense?
yeah, I think.
So if the discussion is there that, okay, you're studying for this test, if you get your work done for this, you can study on work time for the rest of the day or something like that, but
Yeah,
that's probably pretty managerial or department
agree.
head.
Sure.
The department head's discretion.
Because if you have somebody that's just decides they're gonna do their homework and do all their stuff and not do their work,
Right.
you're gonna have some
Right.
concerns and issues with it, but
I just
I think
didn't
that makes sense.
remember that it spoke to it anywhere here.
So I just have one more suggestion, Amy, and any form that we refer to in here should be on the back so that you can see them, if that's all right.
Attached as an appendix.
Yes. That way we can just look at them and make sure that we have all of the farms. We need all those farms.
My guess is there's probably 8. I'm just guessing.
You outlined them in your copy, didn't you? As the
Yes.
form?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're outlined in there, but I think there's probably about 8 of them, just for reference.
So what I'm hearing is, at this point, take out subsection C on page 32.
Yep.
Attach the forms as appendixes. What else? Anything else?
Revamp the whole thing. No, I'm kidding.
Just
I've got
kidding.
all the other corrections and stuff.
And make
Make the
the
corrections as
grammar and formatting changes.
Yes.
Is that a so moved?
There you go.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Here we go. We got it.
We're getting really efficient.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on personnel policy? Okay, we will do a roll call on this one. Let's do Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
and Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion
Hallelujah.
carries. To move forward on that, we'll get those other things taken
That's
care of.
just a little
Makes
hurdle,
me feel
guys.
happy.
Oh
That-
my
yeah,
goodness.
That just gives me
We'll
great joy.
check that off extra hard on
That's
this
right.
one.
Check it off.
All right,
Celebrate.
15, item 15, discussion on Board of Canvassers for December 5th of 2023. Get your volunteer hands ready.
What day is December 5th?
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, it's my birthday.
I hope they
I can
never
be
do
here.
another election this far out from the real election day.
This is just to notify all our residents when we're going to do our Board of Canvas and that we want to set it for 6 o'clock.
I'm available
Yep.
too.
Available.
Oh, perfect.
There you go. There's your volunteers.
All is well in the world.
Okay. All right, that was just a discussion item, and we discussed. Let's move on to item 16. We are going to move into our executive session. The council will enter into a closed meeting for the purpose of a strategy session to discuss the character and professional competence of an individual and the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property to be held in accordance with the provisions of Utah Code 52-4-205. And again, just for the public out there, these executive sessions are for these purposes as mentioned, and these are the items why we go into these closed sessions to not expose anything that we wouldn't want to the public that is very sensitive information. So we'll move into this, and I'll need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move into our executive session now. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Appreciate that. All right, we're now back from our executive session. The council did enter into a closed meeting for the purpose of a strategy session to discuss the character and professional competence of an individual and the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property to be held in accordance with the provisions of Utah Code 52-4-205. And we accomplished the items that we needed in this meeting, and I need a motion to move from our executive session into a public mean.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Because I didn't hear anybody say nay, so we're good to go. We'll move on to item 17 for adjournment of this meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Go outside where it's warm.